Yeah, what's happening? What's happening, man? First video of 2025, man. Hope everybody are having a blessed day. I want to talk about the AFC playoff games. The first one I'm gonna start with is the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Houston Texans. Now, before the season started, I was real high on the Houston Texans. I was feeling like they could kind of build off what they had accomplished last season and making the playoffs and defeating the Cleveland Browns, ultimately falling up short against the Baltimore Ravens, which was a tough spot for any team that's trying to rebuild and really come up in this league, going up against Lamar Jackson, MVP at the time, and up for another MVP actually. I think it's something that we kind of forgot about going into this season because the additions of like Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, they had a lot of hype, a lot of momentum going into this season, and somebody had to break it down. I forget who it is, and I kind of hate that. It may have been somebody on the Locked On Texans podcast. Shout out to those dudes. Um, One of those guys said something. I think everybody we kind of forgot in the midst of things is that despite all the hype and all the hopes for a good season, we kind of forgot in the midst of things that they are rebuilding. They are a rebuilding franchise, and the proof of that is this season they don't have they have one signature win against the Buffalo Bills, and I think Josh Allen probably played his worst game as a pro. But versus the Vikings, 34-7, versus the Packers, 22-4. CJ Stroud has one of his worst games. I don't even think he had 90 yards passing in that game. Versus the Lions, 26-23. The Lions made an incredible comeback after being down in the first half. Versus the Chiefs, 27-19 versus the Baltimore Ravens, 31-2. I had kind of bailed out. I sold my stock on the Houston Texans somewhere down the end of the season. I'm not gonna say they're not a good football team. They do have a lot of injuries. The Tank Dell injury was just that was heartbreaking. Stephon Diggs, him going out. I just felt like they lost a lot of momentum somewhere down the line. And I'm looking at CJ Stroud. He had one of the best rookie quarterback seasons we've ever saw. 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. We saw an amazing regression. Um, Not in touchdowns, but the picks. It was like a 7 pick difference. He threw five more, so he had 12 picks this year, 20 touchdowns, 3,700 yards. And his rookie season, he was 15th in QBR. This season, he was 24th in QBR. He was sacked 52 times this season. I think that's second only behind Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams almost sacked 70 times this season. Last year, CJ Stroud was only sacked 38 times. So we saw like a 14-point difference in the sacks, and I think that kind of affects you. You kind of might want to get the ball out a lot quicker. Even he said that he's just not making the plays this season. He said he's playing a little hobble, but he's not going to use that as an excuse because he's a competitor. But at the same time, though, I think it does definitely affect your play. I watched a lot of Houston snaps this season. That offensive line, it can be very undisciplined at times. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Minnesota Vikings game. It was just penalty after penalty after penalty. You know, this team is good, but like they're still on the come up. The thing that's playing in their favor is their top five in yards allowed at 315 yards a game, and they're top five in sacks. They have 49 sacks on the season. Guys like Will Anderson, he holding the unit down. Guys like Stingley in the secondary, they got a lot of defensive talent. D'Amico Ryans has implemented a good defensive unit. This isn't a bad defensive unit. Uh, I won't let what we saw against the Baltimore Ravens on, I believe that was Christmas. I won't let that just be an indictment on the whole season. I do believe that this is a good defensive unit. And I was thinking about who needed this game more, the Chargers or the Texans. I think the Chargers need this game more. Justin Herbert, that one playoff appearance, it happened a little while ago, and I feel like we're starting to put him in that category with the upper echelon of the quarterbacks, like the Burrows, the Mahomes, the Allens, the Lamars, and stuff like that. I do think Justin Herbert is I do think he's a top 7 to 8 quarterback for sure. He's an arm talent guy. He can sling it down the field. He can make just about every throw. He's very athletic, tall guy. He's kind of quiet. He kind of He seemed like he stays to himself, but on the field, he's dope. But the thing about it is too, they're rebuilding. They're ahead of schedule too. It's just that like Harbaugh, when he came in the building, it's like you can see like a culture change. Uh, their best weapon is like a rookie receiver, Lad McConkey. The thing about it is, like I said about the Texans, they still rebuilding too. When you let Keenan Allen go, you let Mike Williams go, you let Austin Eckler go, a lot of their veteran presence, they kind of let them walk out the door for real, and they want to go into a new direction. You saw in the pick Joe Alt. They want to protect the quarterback. They want to run the ball, and they want to play a lot of defense. I could kind of see this game being potentially in the teens, maybe the low 20s on some like 20, 23. I'm going to have to give it to the Chargers, though. I'm kind of leaning Chargers. Uh, I just think this is a tough spot for Houston. I made a joke about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was just saying the Houston Texans mess around getting into the playoffs, have to play the Chargers and lose in the first round. And lo and behold, this is what happened. I think this game may come down to who has the better quarterback play. And right now, I trust Justin Herbert a lot more than I trust CJ Stroud. I do like CJ Stroud a whole lot. But the problem is he hasn't been himself. He doesn't have that. I don't think CJ has one game this whole season where we look at him and it was like, yeah, that's the quarterback that we fell in love with last year. I just don't think this team has a signature win. And I don't think CJ Stroud has a signature game thus far. I do think the addition of Joe Mixon, that's a huge plus because I do think he's running the ball very well this season. But I don't know. I think they may be on upset alert at home. I got the Chargers 2023. The next game is Ravens versus the Steelers. The Steelers is on a 4-game losing streak. The Ravens on a 4-game winning streak. Now we're a long way removed from week 2. It was a week 2 loss that the Ravens had against the Las Vegas Raiders. They're not the same team. Derrick Henry. Once again, King Henry is having a King Henry season. Lamar Jackson is on the verge of potentially accumulating his 3rd MVP award. I just think that this is a tough spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The George Pickens connection, the moon ball as they call it, that whole Ruster Pickens connection, it looked real like just not too long ago, like a month and a half ago, it was looking like, something to behold for one of the best connections in the game. And now it just doesn't seem like George Pickens is even a factor. I feel like the Ravens clicking on all cylinders. The Zay Flowers thing, I don't know if I got an update on that or not, but hopefully, everything all right for him. But I don't even know if I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, but I just feel like the Ravens are just rolling right now, especially on this 4-game winning streak. They win by a nice margin against every team that they're playing, and I think they handle the Steelers 27-10. I think Lamar gets. I think this is the season where we can kind of see him conquer his playoff woes. I do think in order for him to do that, he's going to have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think if I'm not mistaken, he has to play the Bills. So that's probably going to work out for the Chiefs in that regard, as far as the Bills and the Ravens having to play each other before one of them ultimately gets to the Chiefs. But I just think the Ravens too much for them to handle right now, to be honest. I don't really have much more to say. Like I said, 27-10. I think this is a tough spot for the Steelers on the 4-game losing streak to having to go into Baltimore, having to play against a Ravens team that's really rolling right now. Like I said, we way far removed from them playing against the Raiders in week 2. I feel like once they play my team and the Cowboys, I feel like after that, it was pretty much a go, They got wins against good teams. I think they're ready. The last game, Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, I feel like this is another team that's kind of ahead of schedule with the Sean Payton and Bo Nix. I actually like Bo Nix. He could throw the ball. I like Cortland Sutton. They got a nice connection. I like Pat Surtain. He might be the best cornerback in the game. I just feel like this is a tough spot for the Broncos, as is a tough spot for the Steelers. You got to go in hostile territory. This team in Buffalo, they looking like a Super Bowl contender. And Josh Allen is looking like he could potentially win his first MVP award. He having to go up against like Lamar Jackson. I feel like they could run the ball. They could pass. Josh Allen, he's making little to no mistakes at all. They could put up points. I feel like the team is rolling. I just feel like this is a tough spot for Bo Nix and Denver Broncos having to go in this super hostile territory. It's going to be super cold. I just feel like Josh Allen, they not overlooking the Denver Broncos, but they're looking ahead to bigger things. This is just a challenge, step along the way. Score prediction in this, I might have Buffalo 28-14. I think they could get them by 2 scores. Well, yeah, this is my AFC NFL playoff preview. I got Chargers over Texans 2023. I got Ravens over Steelers 27-10, and I got The Buffalo Bills over the Denver Broncos 28-14. Just something short and sweet, just to get some content out there. Y'all be safe. Love y'all. Peace.